lights moving throughout the woods. But I'm actually gonna leave that story for an extraterrestrial episode that we might do, because I think it's more relevant to alien. Yeah, more X-Files yeah, than anything. But the story that
I don't have that effect, so I had to whistle.
I know what you were doing. I got it right away. Maybe on a 2-second delay, but I got it. But the more ghost story that I want to get into, like I said, why I say more ghost stories, because the other ones are not necessarily ghost stories. They're just odd happenings. Like I said, one might be alien related. I'm not sure. Whatever. I think I brought that up in the past as well. But when I was a kid, about 12 years old. What? No, this one's just this one's just as good. So I lived in a house that was built in like the 1870s. That's the house that I grew up in. And what it was there's the state park Harrington Beach in Lake Church, Wisconsin. And there's a lake called Quarry Lake. It's called Quarry Lake because it used to be a quarry. And my house was built for the foreman of the quarry. And there was always just a very odd feeling in the house that I grew up in. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but what I can say is that as I've gotten away from that house and gotten older, I realized that I'm not afraid of that much. But when I lived in that house, I always felt like there was something like creeping on me, right? And there's several examples that I can bring up of weird shit that happened in that house. Like the house, the way I look at it now, it almost seems as if it was possessed. And that will lead to the TV show I want to talk about in a little while. But for now, what I want to talk about is there was this night I was about 12 or 13 years old and I was sick. And I woke up in my bed one night and I saw my door open and I saw a figure standing there looking at me who I thought was my mom. And I went back to bed thinking nothing of it. And like, again, I say I was sick. It could have been fever dreams. It could have been any number of things. But I remember waking up in the middle of the night, seeing my door open and a figure standing there. And again, I think it was my mom. So the next morning we're having breakfast and we're talking. And I asked my mom, why did you come check on me last night? Because I know what I had seen, just like you're saying, like with the light, like I know exactly what I saw, so I'm just like, what was going on last night? Why did you come check on me in my room? And she's like, I didn't come check on you. And that was pretty fucking spooky because there was somebody standing in my doorway. There was absolutely somebody standing in my doorway that night.
No, that is absolutely interesting. Similarly, when I was a real little kid, I remember being at my Oma's house. That's grandma for anyone who isn't German. I convinced myself this was a dream, and I'm still somewhat convinced it was. However, it does fall in line with like abduction stories. I was probably maybe
Omadupchiness. Oh, I didn't say that right.
I was probably 7 or 8, and I was staying over at my Oma's house, and in the middle of the night, I woke up, but I felt like I couldn't move, which I've never, like, in my entire life, other than maybe this instance, if this was the case, have I ever had sleep paralysis. I know a lot of people deal with that. I never really have. Um, I my eyes opened and I felt myself being picked up by these large, like I'm swear to God, I'm not making this up. These like large, tall, gray, just like somewhat human figures, and I was being carried over one of the shoulders, and like they took me out of the room, and the last thing I remember is they were walking me down the hallway. It all seemed very realistic. They were walking me down the hallway, and I was trying to scream, but as hard as I tried to scream, everything was silent. And the next thing I remember is I just woke up where I was.
I feel like I have heard that. Now, I don't know anything about like actually being like walked up and down halls like by monsters, but I do feel like I've heard people who have sleep paralysis, they talk about feeling like there's like a demon or something like on their chest, you know, or something like hold. I have heard that several times before. Yeah.
Like, and I certainly have too. Excuse me. I certainly have too. I just remember very vividly, like seeing what I would have seen in detail of like being carried over the shoulder of somebody as like we went down my grandma's hallway. Like I remember very vividly seeing like the hallway and the all the doors in the hallway and like the open door to the room I was sleeping in, and trying to scream, and like I did feel the sensation of screaming, but everything was silent. And then I just woke up where I was.
Well, I gotta say, I need to absolutely take this opportunity to segue into talking about the television show Evil, because they actually get into some things. And I know that you watch some of it. I don't know how much you watch. And since they're on season 2, it's been a while since I watched season 1. I don't exactly remember how they open it up. But the reason why I want to jump into this show right now, right here, is because they talk about this blurring. The point of the show, at least in my perspective, is about the blurring of the supernatural and the scientific and the religious, and strong minds versus weak minds. Like what, and I'm not trying to say one mind's strong, one mind's weak, but what the show really tries to explore, I just want to say is, again, Evil. It's on Paramount Plus. It's a brilliant fucking show. What they try to explore is you have 3 characters. One who's a psychologist who is seeing things in her sleep, but because she is so believing in the scientific method as a psychologist, she's just looking for drugs to use to stop the hallucinations. She can never believe that the hallucinations are real. Now there's another guy who's like a tech wizard, played by Asif Manvi, who used to be on The Daily Show, actually, and he's scientific, that's but in like, that's what, great actor too. If we may just take a side, he's a great fucking actor. It's unbelievable how good he is in this show. So he's tech minded, where like he believes in science, but he's looking at it all for like, if there's a sound, I can pick it up with a microphone. Whereas the psychologist is like, if there's a hallucination, we can figure out the problem in your mind, right? So like she's looking at it for like mental reasons. He's looking at it for purely up and down, and like then, and then you have the priest, and then there's the priest. David, right, exactly. And so like the entire idea of this show is the culmination of what is real, what isn't real, what is faith, what is beliefs. Can we be so strong-minded but have things that are put up against our beliefs, and then how do we cope with them when we think we know one thing but these other things present themselves? And there's scenes where they have nightmares, and these ghouls like haunt them. And I can't remember if that's in the first couple episodes, which you maybe saw.
Well, what I will say, so I watched the first 4 episodes. I left off right where she was having those visions of George, and like the demon that visits her in her sleep. And
okay, yeah, so you did see that then. I just couldn't remember how soon he comes into play. Yeah, okay.
And she is, so they got done, I think it was episode 2, they did the miracle, right? With the girl who came back to life.
Oh, sure. Yep. And I should say, I know, okay, because there is a bit of recommendation of this show going on here. It is a serial CBS type of show. So I've been through both first 2 seasons. I don't feel like we're ruining anything here by like expressing this. I just want to say that to the larger audience of 8 people who might hear this, but anyways, like as we get into the weeds a little bit, I don't feel that we're spoiler alerting anything here. Do you
not really? No.
Yeah.
What I will say I was impressed with, and like I do intend to keep watching it. What impressed me, something I was skeptical by your initial description of it, being it, like they're investigating for the Catholic Church and all these things. A lot of the time, again, like not really truly spoiling anything, but at least as far as I've watched, a lot of these things that they're experiencing do tend to have like a logical explanation, which like I do enjoy, because it's like Scooby-Doo almost, where it's this is a crazy thing and they're investigating for the church, and by investigating for the church, I thought for sure like, well, it's going to be like, oh, you can't explain this, science, gotcha. But no, it's not like that.
No, it's really not. And I love that analogy, talking about Scooby-Doo, because, well, I really don't even need to go in. I could try to say like that, why this is a great analogy, but that is a perfect fucking analogy. Is a lot of times it's like just the mask gets pulled off at the end, especially those first 4 episodes. But what I can say as somebody who's watched further on is, maybe this is where my synopsis like strays from where yours is, just because of different like amount of watching on the show, is they do go further and further and further into what is real, what isn't real, whose beliefs actually stand up. Like they all get a chance to be right.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I am listening then.
No, for sure. But yeah, the really cool thing about the show is it's a mishmash. It's a mod squad of people who have all their own beliefs, and all their beliefs are clashing with one another. And then it also, as the story goes on, it gets into some real wild satanic sort of shit. Like, okay. and it's got the dude from Lost, who was the creepy dude that like ran the island like in like season 2 or 3.
I only made it halfway through season 1.
You've seen him already. I know you have. Did you watch Lost at all?
Like I mean like in Lost, I only made it through halfway.
Oh, all right. Okay. I get what you're saying. So there's this dude. He plays a great villain, and he's like the villain character in Evil. And all I was gonna say is just like, so he brings in a whole different element. And what I'll say is like, I do have a bit of a disappointment getting into season 2. What they often do is they bring up storylines that get you really invested, but because it's a network television show, it's not about completing a story like Breaking Bad was, or something on like HBO or AMC, where they say, we're going to do 4 seasons, we're going to tell a story. I guess Breaking Bad was 8, but either way, we're going to tell a story. It has an arc. So what you see happen with Evil as it goes on is that you think the next episode is going to carry on a storyline, and it doesn't. but they're still doing a very brilliant job of bringing it all together. And the characters are so interesting, and the thoughts that it can bring you to